Well, howdy, people. Welcome to another rousing YouTube episode video thing that we call the Making of the Super Show. That's Ed.
That's me.
Over there.
Over there.
And I'm not Ed.
This is nope, this way. This is not Ed over there. This is Ed here.
Yeah, it's backwards.
So, yeah.
We'll have to try to work something out to where I can take like a can of soda, place it off screen,
put it over here.
You can reach over
I can reach over and get it.
Yep. Get all crazy with it, man. People will be freaking out.
Oh.
How'd they do that?
Yeah, so this is what, the making of 7, right?
Episode 8. The making of number 8.
This is 8 making of? Okay.
Yeah. I'm tweeting about it right now.
Roger sent me a text that says, "Call me, please. Can you find this number? Because I can't call out online. I don't know why."
Uh-oh. Hope everything's okay.
Okay.
Tell her she needs to get in on the Superman show like she used to, just another fanboy back in the day.
Do you know what is fun? Because I don't think I have it in here as Roger.
Let's see who it is.
Yeah, if you got it, you can just take that.
Okay. Thank you, honey. I'll bring it back shortly.
Pardon the interruption, folks.
That's life, man.
That is life. That's why that's the joy of live broadcasting.
And I can't tell. You may be saying that tongue in cheek, but that is serious. That is
it is dead serious
true.
when I say that. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
if I'm being sarcastic, maybe I'll do this.
Oh, okay. So that's
so Steven's being sarcastic.
Well, see, this is why I like podcasting, because of things like that. It's not a radio show.
Yeah.
It's not on Sirius. It's not. That's not what I'm after. Not when I don't make like I'm a big old garage goober when I record, but it's real. If my cats jump up here and I'll try to shoo them out of the way, but it's like, hey, it happens to everybody. So why isn't it going to happen when you're recording?
Yeah,
that's
No, I agree. I mean, I will tend to cut that kind of stuff out of my episodes.
Okay.
But depending on the kind, if it's a funny or a an entertaining interruption,
sure,
I'll stick it at the end.
Yeah.
Something fun for the end. That's what I've been trying to do with these with our audio episodes. Mm-hmm. When one of us mess up at some point, I take that out, but then I stick it at the very end.
Right, put it at the end.
Everybody can hear it. Yeah. All right, well,
let's do it.
My dog is whining.
Uh-oh. It's a wind up. It's a wind up.
Yeah. So
you're doing the feedback?
Yeah, we'll start with the feedback episode. I'll do that one since you did the last episode. So
that's cool.
I'm going to start recording on my Audacity.
Yeah, mine has.
We'll do
running.
We'll do the clap. 1, 2, 3. All right. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 20. Another feedback episode.
Yes.
Boy, that dog is just freaking. There he goes.
There it goes.
There he goes.
It was a wind up. Yeah. You're making Steven fuss.
Daughter's getting her mom. See, that's how it works out. He was back there, and then she gets a phone call, and he comes up.
Yay.
Okay, that's good.
To know about Wednesday and Thursday and stuff like that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, sorry, honey.
No need to apologize.
That's all right.
Yeah, she said, okay, then screw you.
There you go. That's the attitude.
Yep.
Forget you, man.
Do you want to see the dog?
See the dog.
Here's the
sure.
Dog. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Hi, buddy. All right.
Okay, there you go. That's the dog.
That's Niles. He's an old man.
Yep.
All right. Let's move forward. Get back to my show notes. Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steven, and 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore.
Howdy, this is Ed.
Howdy, Ed.
That's not Ed.
Yeah, if you're watching the video, you got Ed and not Ed. If you're not watching the video, you don't get that joke, and you know what? That's your fault.
That's okay. Yeah, you know.
So
there are a few drawbacks to the audio only format. A few.
Yes.
So
there are some drawbacks to the video as well, because then you have to look at me.
Yeah, whatever.
Doing my sarcastic hands now.
Oh yeah.
All right, so today we're going to kind of jump over our normal banter segment because we are going to try to get 4 episodes in today while we record. So we are straying from format once more to do a feedback episode. This is our second feedback episode. I think the first one was episode 9.
9. Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten some feedback mostly from Twitter. But we'll, I'll read those out and then we can comment on them. The first one is I have labeled as general feedback. This is not specific to any particular episode. It comes from Twitter, from @the_Glenn_Clark. And Glenn says, finally listening to my first episode of the Superman Super Show. What a great listen. Going back to the beginning and getting caught up over this week. If you want some information on the Golden Age Superman, this is the podcast for you.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was fun to kind of wake up to that day.
Yeah, that was cool. Thank you, the Glenn Clark. I appreciate that. We appreciate that.
We do. Totes. The next bit of feedback is for episode number 9, which was the feedback episode, the first one. And it comes from over on the forums, which you should join at forum.justanotherfanboy.com. And then you can join in on some of this fun that we have over there. But this comes from forum member Kyle. And he says, thanks so much for reading my feedback. It brought a smile to my face at work. So hopefully this brought a smile to his face as well.
And see, this is getting Inception kind of stuff where
we're going really
we're
meta.
acknowledging his feedback on the feedback where we read his feedback. Yeah, this is like, pretty soon the drop is going to occur and we're all going to wake up and pull out of this.
Well, my hope is that around episode 29 or 30, when we do another feedback episode, we have his comment about this episode saying, thank you for reading my feedback about reading my feedback. And we just keep going and going. And, 10 years from now, the entire episode is just us reading that feedback because it's so long. So that's the goal.
This whole concept puts me in mind of something that I encountered when I was a wee lad many years ago. I used to go to this mysterious place called the Barber Shop.
Ooh.
And he had 2 opposing walls of mirrors. And it always used to mess with my mind when I would sit in the chair and look forward, but I would see me, seeing me, watching me, seeing me, watching me. And it's like, I'm always like, how many is that? And it's,
Some people have to go to a carnival to see that kind of stuff.
Sometimes, but I used to go every month or 2 when my dad took me, and I got to sit there in the chair quietly while I tried to figure this stuff out.
Your mind was blown.
Yep.
All right. Our next bit of feedback comes from Twitter, and this is in response to episode number 10, in which we talked about Action Comics number 9, which was entitled Wanted Superman. And this comes from @JohnReadsComics. And he says, I've spent the last few weeks reading all the pre-Batman issues of Detective Comics. Siegel and Schuster have 2 strips in there, Slam Bradley and Spy. Both have a sharp comedic bent. It's starting to inform my Superman reading. I realize Golden Age Superman is not always funny. But when they do a comedic story, now it just feels like more in vogue with what they're doing. Let me try that again. But when they do a comedic story, now it just feels like more in vogue with what they're used to doing in other books. Really great episodes, by the way. Enjoying the show a lot. I hope to stay ahead of you on my reading, but not sure I'll succeed.
Well, I would say in that he's, what is he in 1991 Superman? So he's probably out there a bit ahead of us.
I don't know if we will ever get to that point.
Catch up to him.
That's right. John does, well, he's got a number of podcasts. John reads comics. Do you know his website off the top of your head? Because I don't.
John Wilson. Let me see if I can get it up.
I should have put that down there. But he does a Superman.
Right now he's
podcast.
doing Superman in Crisis.
Yes. Basically, he's reading weekly the Superman comics, any Superman story during the Crisis. So those are kind of fun.
Oh, no, I am having no luck calling it up. Let's see.
All right. Well, I'll find it and stick it in the show notes if I remember.
There it is. Yeah, you were right. JohnReadsComics.com.
And it's JON.
Yes. No H.
That's right.
And there are a variety. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's got 10 different shows listed on his mega feed.
He makes me feel better about me as a person, as a podcaster, because there are often times that I shake my fist at myself and go, why are you even trying so many podcasts? You can't. So knock it off. But John inspires me.
4 of his shows, one that he is on right now, deal with Superman, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
So I would say in that 4 of 10 cover Superman, he must be a pretty big Superman fan. Just guessing.
I think he is.
Yeah. So
I have that feeling. All right. Next up is feedback specific to episode number 12, in which we looked at Action Comics number 11, Superman and the Black Gold Swindle. And this comes from @RadioSuperman. They say, so far I have read up to Action Comics number 40. And another count you may want to start is, how many times is Superman hanging from the ledge of a building? He continues, my cat name suggestions would be Streaky, obviously, and Fliver.
I would say that's Fliver. Yeah. Fliver. Because there's 2V. Now, see this? Guess what this is?
That looks like a list.
Numbers, marks. This is the official count for the number of times Superman has hung. Now, one of these is very interesting. I did not catch this at the time, but early on, one of these that I'm going to count was him inside, hanging off the crown
skylight
molding.
Oh my goodness!
It was the crown molding. And I was like, I got to count that. I don't care. It's close enough. That's, you know, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would count that.
Okay, so, and I will go ahead and spoil in the hopefully next 3 episodes that we do, all of them stories from Superman 2. There is no ledge holding. So
no, yeah, I was really disappointed.
That's a 0 for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Not as many as I felt.
Yeah.
But 8 times he has held onto, grabbed onto, pulled up, falling, caught himself one time. Remember that on the ledge? So 8 times is our running tally for the, how did Radio Superman put it? Hanging from the ledge of a building.
Yep.
So this is the official Superman Super Show. Superman hanging from the ledge of a building count. It is at 8 as we record this feedback podcast.
So that's up through Action Comics number 15 and includes the new story in the first Superman comic.
Yes.
Oh, and then the World's Fair.
Yes. Yes. 1, 2, 3, let's see, 12, 13, 14, 15 Action, Soup 1, and the New York World's Fair 1. I don't know if he has a story in 2. We haven't read it yet.
Yeah, we haven't got there yet. And if this is your first episode, we should probably explain a little bit. I think during that episode that this
thanks,
comment, Doug just chimed in on the live chat. Hard hitting statistics, love it.
That is
That's
why
what
people
we're all.
tune in.
Yeah,
that's it right there.
Exactly. That's exactly why you tune in. That's what we're all about here. The hard hitting statistics. But I think it was during that episode of the Black Gold Swindle where I had jokingly made a comment about the number of times I have seen Superman pick somebody up, tuck them under his arm, and then jump around with them.
Do you want me to go through and count those? I thought about it.
That's
when I was
that's
doing
up to
these.
you. That's up to you. But I had made that joke comment as a joke, and so at Radio Superman, that was his. You should start counting the number of times he hangs from a ledge. And of course, as soon as he said that, I haven't been able to not look for it when I'm reading.
And we had made note of him doing that because he can't fly yet. All he can do is jump or fall or what. So he jumps up and pulls himself up, and we're like, he did it again. But they're on panel 27. So.
And another spoiler for upcoming episodes there was one, while he's not hanging from any buildings in any of the 3 stories in Superman issue number 2, there is a moment where he is jumping and he lands like on his feet on a window ledge outside of a window. And then he's like listening to what's going on inside. And I'm reading that thinking, how did they not hear him land on that? That had to have made some kind of
I guess he lands like Spider-Man does.
I guess,
even though he's,
just very light and delicate on his feet like a cat. He's just
exactly
like a ninja.
Like a lynx.
Like a cat. Yeah.
It's a little throwback there.
That's an old callback right there. So maybe that's one of his unwritten superpowers, is the ability to land quietly like a ninja or a cat.
He has done it so many times that it has really proven useful for Superman and the way he does stuff. So
now when he starts flying, he can easily glide slowly and
sure. I'm
just thinking of, that dude's got to be 195, 185 pounds jumping from the top of a building across an alleyway onto a window ledge. It's got to be like boom.
No doubt. Yeah, they would have to make some
to stop himself from falling. Because I'm sorry, you just cannot be graceful doing that, I guess, unless you're Superman. So another one of his superpowers. All right. Next up, we've got feedback for episode number 16, in which we talked about the new story out of Superman number 1, which had a lot of reprints, but it had a new story called we called it Superman Gets a Job. And this also comes from @John Reads Comics. And he says, y'all wondered about the new material in this and its relationship to the newspaper strips. I've heard that this material came from what S&S originally shopped around, and I guess S&S would be Siegel and Schuster, originally shopped around to sell Superman to newspapers before National bought it for Action Comics, but it didn't actually appear there. The newspaper strips were doing their own thing and gave a much more Krypton-centered telling of Superman's origin. Also, Superman getting the planet job happened a bit differently there, in that Superman failed to save some people because he didn't arrive soon enough. They died, and he figures hearing about crises at a newspaper will help him get there more quickly and people won't die. So it was similar, but different. Which was really interesting to me, because I think one of the previous episodes we talked about how Superman didn't have one of those origins, where he, I just lost my camera, where he, fails to save somebody who dies, and then that makes him, want to be a superhero. But apparently they did a version of that to a certain extent through the newspaper strips.
Yep.
I'm trying to get my camera back. There we go. There's my camera back on.
There it is. Sorry.
Now, also in regard to episode 16, @Radio Superman commented over on Twitter, I think the reason they had the text stories had something to do with postage being cheaper. If they had a certain number of words or text pages, they could fit the criteria needed. I wondered if this was a reason they started doing letter pages in the future.
Could be.
So,
I know currently there's an issue with how you use media mail. If there's advertising, you're not allowed to use media mail according to the post office. So that's kind of specious argument to me, whether or not comic books have advertisements. And they certainly don't nowadays.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, actually, my wife and I, Terry, were recording a couple episodes of the Mighty Thorcast plug over the weekend, and we were talking about the pages of ads that were in those older books.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you remember what I'm talking about. It's one page, and there's like 15 different little, almost like classified ads on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And different stuff. I look at those and I'm always like, I want to send $2 to that address and see what happens. Is it a valid address anymore? Does it, you know?
Yeah. All right. Our last bit of feedback is in regard to the previous episode number 17, Superman Meets the Ultra Humanite, which came out of Action Comics number 14. And it comes from over on the forums, from forum member Kyle. And he says, "Hi guys, another entertaining episode. Ed, could you tell me the name of the Batman podcast you mentioned where they're reading all his stories?"
That's a reference to a podcast that recently started. What they do is they talk about one Batman strip from Detective Comics and one Batman strip from the named Batman comic per episode. It is called Become a Bat. And this week they released Batman 5, a story, like I think it's the second or third story, / Detective Comics. I don't know. I think they're in the 50s by now. So it'll take 4 or 5 episodes to get through one issue of Batman, because just like we have now in the Superman book, but each episode they're able to talk about one strip from a different detective issue, because just like we're doing with Action. So they just talk about one of each per episode. They're about 25, 30 episodes into the show.
Should add that to my queue. Just another podcast that I never have time to listen to, but
it's very similar. I've been reading along with them. I'm not caught up to them yet, but those Golden Age, which are being published almost synonymously with these that we're reading here for Superman. The two characters, of course, they feel different creators, different kind of characters, but you can still tell that they seem to come from similar time frames.
Yeah.
Because of what happens and how it happens.
Yeah. I've only ever read Detective Comics 27.
Okay.
And I think I read that for a podcast episode that I was doing. And I think the thing that struck me the most about that issue, which if you know, the first appearance of Batman, the thing that struck me the most about that issue or that story was the way Bruce Wayne, you know, nowadays you think of Bruce Wayne and the character he plays as Bruce Wayne is like this millionaire playboy or billionaire playboy who's got a woman on each arm, and you know he likes his toys and likes to be out there on the speedboats and doing extreme sports and spending his money and blah blah blah. And this Bruce Wayne felt more of he was just bored. He was a bored rich guy who was just like, I'm going to hang out with the police commissioner because I'm bored. And the police commissioner it's like he brought him to the crime scenes, which I thought was really weird. And if I remember correctly, there's a point where Bruce is smoking his pipe and he's like stamping the pipe. He's stamping the ash out of the pipe so he can fill it up with. And I'm like, you're at a crime scene and you're stamping ash all over the crime scene.
But this is Batman. He knows how to differentiate that. So,
right.
You know, it's all good. Yeah.
But I found that very funny compared to the Bruce Wayne of today, where he's just I'm just a bored millionaire, and I think he even said ho hum at one point.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, he said that.
he reminded me of the guy in that previous Superman story we talked about, who had so much money he was just bored with life.
Yep.
And he didn't know what to do with it.
Didn't know how to spend it.
Yeah. What a problem to have.
Yeah. It's alien to me. I don't know what world they live on.
Right. All right, that's all we got for feedback this time around. We would like to try to do these every 10 episodes or so. So we encourage all y'all to leave as much feedback as you want to. You can do that over on Twitter. The Twitter account will be in the show notes. If you're watching live, I meant to put this up on the screen because trying to get a Twitter handle for this show ended up being a real pain in the butt, because just like if you're trying, you have a character limit for tweets, you apparently have a character limit for your Twitter handle, or at least the at part of it. So I couldn't do at Superman Super Show. It was too long. And so I did at Soups, SUPS Super Show. And there it is right there, live, if y'all are watching the video. At Soups Super Show. That's where we get most of our feedback. That tends to, Twitter seems to be a popular place.
Yep.
You can also email us. We've yet to get an email, folks. Come on. The Superman Super Show at gmail.com. Every once in a while, I'll get an email there and I'll be like, yay, but it's spam. And then I get sad.
Yeah. It's a Nigerian prince, or they're concerned about your car warranty, or flagging male organs, or so many people. The car warranty industry, they're just so nice because they're always extending my deadline. They're concerned about my car warranty.
Right.
Indeed.
That's right. You can also come over to the forums, forum.justanotherfanboy.com. We have a Superman Super Show forum over there. We post a talkback thread for every episode that goes up, and you can come leave feedback there. So those are you've got many options.
Many.
When it comes to leaving feedback. And I meant to bring this up earlier and I didn't, but for the folks who like to use the Twitter, if you're not currently following the Superman Super Show on Twitter, I encourage you to do that. We have, as of right this moment, 49 followers, and let's see if we can get 50.
Let's see if we
by
can
the
get
end
50
of
while we're taping
this video. That's right.
Yeah.
See if we can make that happen. But until then, folks, that's all we got. That's all we got for this episode. Feedback, good people listening to the show with good things to say, and that always warms my heart. I think it's Derek Coward used to always say that the currency of the podcaster is feedback.
Peter Rios.
Well, Peter Rios said it because Derek Coward used to say it all the time.
Derek said it first. Okay. I thought Peter said it
I'm
first.
pretty sure Derek Coward said it first. Now, Peter, if you're listening and you want to thrust your chest out and
claim that,
get all up in my face and tell me I'm wrong, I can accept when I'm wrong, because I have living as long as I have lived, I have learned that I'm wrong 75-80% of the time. I'm wrong a lot. And if you're not one to admit when you're wrong, then wow, especially if you're wrong 75% of the time,
then you're wrong.
That's right. You're wrong for not admitting.
Exactly.
You're wrong.
So there you go. Yeah, it's, you're doubling your wrong there. Wrong squared.
The one joke I've always heard that I enjoy from people who say they go, I'm never wrong. The matter of fact, the only time I was ever wrong was the time I thought I was wrong, and turns out I was wrong because I wasn't wrong.
I was actually right. Yeah. Okay. Ha ha.
So yeah. So leave us some feedback. We'll do another one of these episodes around episode 29, 30, 31, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And if you want to hear your name and give you a smile while you're at work,
there you go.
Leave us some feedback and we'll talk to it.
Free plug.
Talk about it. Yeah. Yeah. And back in the day, when I first started podcasting, I used to leave feedback. I used to call. I remember specifically during an episode calling the voicemail for Around Comics and making that part of my episode and marketing myself and my podcast on their voicemail.
There you go.
So if you can do it in a funny way, people will appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you got?
I'm good, sir.
Okay, folks. Until next time, I'm Steven and that's Ed. And this is the Superman Super Show.
Ciao.
Ciao, Bella. I don't know if I said that right.
Ciao, Bella.
What's Bella? Is that like baby?
Yes.
Honey, baby, sweetie mama. Okay, let me stop this recording. Wow, I almost started doing what I always tend to do at this point, and that was to go do 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 do. Don't know why I'm doing that a lot lately. So it's only as I'm saving these files during the Superman Super Show.
So that is going to be episode 20.
20. And if you've noticed on the show notes, I've started to put the air date.
Air date. Yes, I did notice that just now.
I figured there might be things that we might want to bring up, timely things.
Right, and knowing when they'll be hearing the podcast portion of this, at least. Yes.
For example, I've been trying to decide all night if I want to mention the secret project I'm working on. But I think I'll wait till the next video.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to talk about it until I have at least 2 episodes under the old belt.
Okay.
Because then I feel like I'm talking about something that may never happen. But if I've got a couple episodes, at least I could put 2 episodes out and still feel like I did something.
Okay, fair enough.
But I will say that the thing that's slowing me down so far is I'm doing an episode 1 that's, I mean, I can talk about this because Ed knows what I'm talking about. So Ed's the only one that understands what I'm saying he knows he knows the book I'm talking about. But I'm trying to do an episode 1 that gives some context about how the storyline came to be and what was going on at the time. Just to kind of get people caught up. And then the very next episode, I'll start talking about the issues. Those will be the fast ones.
Yeah, that history episode, those are always plus figuring out how much history. Can't do all the history. That's too
exactly
much. But the high points and maybe a little filler and
what I found what works for me is I put as much information as it possibly can into the show notes and then kind of pick and choose.
Right.
You know,
I'll skip
it's like
that. I'll skip that.
It's kind of like that you know, it's better to have, you know, a gun and not need it than to need a gun and not have it. You know, I'd rather have the information and not use it than need the information and I don't have it.
Well, plus the thing is having researched all that information, as you're trying to talk about one aspect, you have all of this stuff in your head and you're able to put it together better than, So, I mean, it helps one way or another, you know, the final product. But it's always tough how much you want to vocalize, how much you want to write down, because there's always more information than either of those you can realistically do. So,
For the folks who are on live or may watch the video later, I'll just give you a very tiny slight tease. The subject of my secret project ties into this podcast here. That's all I'm going to say. I got flies buzzing around. Okay, I am recording. Are you recording?
I am recording.
Let me get my show notes down to where we're supposed to be. And we'll do the clap. 1, 2, 3. It's all you, brother. You know what? Real quick, I know we got. We're showing that we have 2 people watching live. I know one of them's Doug. If you're out there watching live, let your words be seen. Give us a holler in the chat. We like to make you a part of the show. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Wait a minute and see if they pipe up.
Yeah, because there's a delay.
I know who it is.
I don't know how much of a delay it is, but I know there's a delay.
Yeah, there's probably a 25 second delay, I think.
Yeah, I know that when sometimes if I'm watching you guys do Comic Addiction, I'll immediately comment on something you guys say, and by the time it pops up and you guys see it, it's who it's probably who
I can hear that in the living room barely. I can't necessarily tell the words, but I can hear something going on in there. So that's also how I know it's about a 20-25 second delay, I think.
Yeah, that was quite the delay.
Okay. All right. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode 21, The Comeback of Larry Trent. Where's Larry been? We will tell you if you hold on.
Just hold your horses, people.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to an all-new episode of the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Ed, and 1,000 miles over my left shoulder is the other host, Mr. Steeven Orr.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
And we didn't even practice that.
That's right. That was off the cuff.
Yep. Which is the best kind of cuff.
That's right. There's no cuff like an off the cuff.
An off cuff. Yes, absolutely. All right, guys. Today we're looking at the comeback of Larry Trent, which appeared in Superman #2, issue 2, volume 2. No, it's issue #2. This was written for us by Jerry Siegel, penciled by Joe Shuster, and inked by Paul Cassidy. Now, Superman issue #2 was published by DC Comics, and it has a cover date of September 1939 with an approximate on-sale date of August 22nd, 1939. That's according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics. That is very close to very close to the put it out and whatever it actually meant back then. I don't think that the cover date was necessarily used the same way they are now. So
Doug chimed in on the live chat. Everyone has been waiting for the Larry Trent comeback. And I just have to say real quick, that title is probably one of my favorite things about this story. And I read all 3 stories out of this issue first. And then when I was putting the show notes together, I went back to the index and I saw that title and I just nodded my head. I was like, yep, that's a great freaking title.
Yep. Now, a little bit of research brought the fact to light that this story is a compilation, probably with some amount of editing, of newspaper strips that were published between and including February 20th, 1939 through March 18th, my birthday, 1939. Now, my birthday was not in 1939 for all of you people that thought that was funny, because it's not. I was born about 30 years later than that. Thank you. So, okay. Now that we got that out of the way, it's not funny.
I'm not laughing.
No.
Much.
All righty. Superman stops a man from plummeting off a bridge only to discover that it's none other than former heavyweight boxing champ Larry Trent. Trent curses Superman for saving him, claiming he's lost all confidence in himself. Back when Larry Trent was the heavyweight champ, his manager made a deal with a crooked gambler and spiked his drink so that when he was out in the ring, he couldn't swing straight and lost the bout and his title. Since then, he hasn't been able to get his spirit back, failing at whatever job he took. Superman decides to help Larry get back to the top of his game, and thus my friends, starts the comeback. First, he disguises himself, Superman, with makeup to look exactly like Trent. Then he wins a few bouts in the gym's ring until the owner refers him to a boxing manager, Jock Kane. Still in disguise, Superman meets with Kane and shows him what he can do by laying out current champ Slugger Barnes, these names are killer, right in his office. At first, Kane is furious at the display, but Slugger convinces him to give the guy a chance in the ring. He later whispers to Kane that he just wants a chance to get Trent back for that punch earlier. Superman enters the ring while the real Larry Trent watches from the audience. Slugger tries a few of his trademark punches, but they have no effect on the Man of Steel's solid form. Barnes eventually wears himself out and falls to the mat, granting Larry Trent, in quotes here, the victory. In the locker room, Tom Croy, Trent's sleazy old manager, approaches the still disguised Superman and offers him a chance to be the champ again. After agreeing, Superman leaves the building but still listens in with his super hearing. Croy is planning the same old tricks he used last time, getting Trent to the final championship and then drugging him so he loses the title match. Not this time, Superman thinks. Now, at the Daily Star, Clark hands in an article to be printed after the big fight. His editor thinks he's gone mad as it states Larry Trent as the winner, but Clark's willing to stake his career on his predictions becoming fact. That night in a rented apartment, Superman tells Larry that he was no longer going to be his double. Larry was ready to get back in the ring and get his title back. That night at the bout, as the bell rings to start the first round, Trent fights with everything he's got. His manager, Croy, and the gambler both watch from the sidelines, holding a canteen full of drugs to slow Trent down. But Larry Trent's not fooled again. He refuses the drink every time it's offered in between rounds. But by round 6, he's so tired that he can barely keep Croy from trying to force the drink down his throat. Lucky for him, Superman is there, grabbing Croy by the lapels and forcing him to drink his own concoction. The gambler pulls out a small handgun, which Superman blocks with his palm, causing the gun to explode out the back. Didn't injure the dude, though, interestingly enough. Trent goes on to win the heavyweight championship without further complications. His work done, Superman leaves him to his restored life. Back at the Star's office, the editor is impressed that Clark's article has depicted the events of last night with such accuracy. Clark's reply is that it was just good old reporter's foresight. I like the story.
Story was fun, very reminiscent of the Action Comics tale in which Superman disguises himself as a football player.
Football player, yes.
The only difference is that Larry Trent knows that Superman is impersonating him and has given him permission to do so.
Yes.
Whereas in the Action Comics storyline, he kidnaps the football player and steals his identity. But we have learned just based on those two stories that if for some reason Superman's powers were to fail him, or if he could no longer find work as a news reporter, he's always got a job doing special effects makeup for the movies, because
he seems to be good at impersonations. So
yeah, and it can just apply makeup in such a way that it physically alters his appearance.
Yep.
Though I will say this, there were a number of times throughout this story where I think Schuster actually on purpose did a really good job of showing him as Larry Trent, but still looking kind of like Clark Kent. I thought there was a bit of a difference there between the Superman Larry Trent and the actual Larry Trent. And
right.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep, close enough. But if you really got close enough and looked, then you could tell that they were different. But yeah, and I mean, come on, most of what is being seen of this person is from inside a ring by the people around the ring.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, he has some interactions with some managers and people like that who haven't seen the dude for how many years at this point?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, yeah.
But it was fun. And, you brought up at the beginning that these are reprints of newspaper strips.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I picked up on that during this story or if it was the next story where
I think it was one of the later ones. Yeah.
But knowing now that that's what's happening. I mean, first of all, just the look, there's like a kind of like a speckled inking going on, shading going on a lot of these panels that it just looks different than what was in the comics. And I don't know if that's a process that is there because it was going into a newspaper strip, but it's definitely got a different look, and it does have a different feel. It feels like almost a different type of story than what we've been reading in Action Comics. And frankly, as we get to the other two stories, when we move on to the next episodes, they are a bit darker than what we've been seeing in the comics, which I don't know, almost surprises me that for a nationally syndicated newspaper strip that they would be darker and almost more violent than what they would put in a comic on the stand. But I don't know. I don't know if it was just assumed that kids weren't reading the newspaper and it was more adults, whereas kids would be picking, would be pulling the comics from the newsstand. So, but yeah, I thought this was fun.
It definitely, like you said, had a different feel than those strips that we've been reading in Action Comics. I'd really have to sit down and try to figure out the correct words to really describe them against each other. But if you have been reading them and then you read this, it just feels different. I mean, there are some aspects, like you said, the artwork is a little different. The rendering of the colors is a little different, even though, the colors from the material that we're looking at are reproduced and probably touched up, which is kind of unfortunate, I think. But the colors in the version we're reading are more heavily saturated.
Yeah.
And I think that they are brighter primary colors than the primary colors would have looked in a newsprint printing.
Yep.
Either the paper or comic books back then. So, we're looking at something that was printed on shiny, heavier bond paper in higher saturation, and so I mean, it just, to me, a lot of the modern reprintings of these very, very old comics, the publishers feel that it's necessary to do that, and I think it takes away from the product because it's not what it was. You're not reprinting something. If you were dealing in antiques, that would be called a repop, right? You're reproducing it. It's not a reprint.
Yeah.
So I would like to get a hold of a lot of these things, particularly these newspaper prints, as a true reprint, so that I can see. That's what I want. I want to be then. And so I need to see it as close to what I would have seen it in February of 1939. That's what I would like to see.
It's almost like discovering, ancient hieroglyphics in an Egyptian tomb, and then somebody takes them and sticks them on a computer and changes them up to make them look better. They
sharpen it and they straighten it, and it's like, that's not what you saw out
Yeah.
there. That's not, yeah. So, and I mean, I can understand there. I have listened to people talk about these reprintings and extol the wonders of modern. I'm like, well, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't agree, but okay.
I understand it. I get
Yeah.
it. I understand the
I
reasoning behind it. But
yep. I get
and
your words, but
if
yeah.
it's a situation where, because some of these maybe they don't have good copies of the originals, and so
that's
they
a
don't
little
have any
different.
choice.
Yeah.
They don't have any choice but to update it. That's
Update it and maybe at
restore
times
it.
even remake it,
Yeah.
just look and see what it is and do the best they can to re-image whatever it was. Okay, I can understand that,
One thing I found is that the art is almost better on these
Mm-hmm.
in these
That
stories than they have been, and in fact,
that was
as
my
I was
thoughts too.
reading these stories, because what I found is as we've been reading Action Comics, I don't really pay attention to who is doing the art in the story until I start putting the show notes together for the show. And so if I get to a story that the art seems to be a bit improved, typically it's because they have somebody else doing the art.
Right.
It just tends to look, it's the same style as Joe Shuster. So that's what I assumed was going on with these, that they had, like I can't remember any of the Wayne Boring and folks like that who've come in to do some of the art. And then when I was putting the show notes together, it's like, no, Joe, Shuster did the art on all three of the stories that we're going to be talking about over the next 3 weeks. And so there's a number of questions that raise into my head, knowing that these are newspaper strips. One of them is, did Shuster spend more time and care on these over what was in Action Comics? And then of course that leads to the question, if so, why? What is it about the strips? Are they being paid more? Is it bigger circulation, so they feel they have to do a better job art-wise on it? Or do the newspapers have a higher standard for quality than maybe what was going in the comic books? And then I think the second big question I'd like to know the answer to is, I would really love to see these strips, and I would love to know which, where does the one strip end and begin and end? Because as I'm reading these, there are certain moments like, okay, well, this obviously is the end of a strip, and then this is the beginning of the next strip as printed in the newspapers. Because I think we were talking before we started recording, there are moments in the next story where somebody's saying something in one panel, then the very next panel they're saying almost the exact same thing. So it's very obvious that the previous panel was the end of one strip in a newspaper, and then the next panel was the beginning of the next strip in a newspaper. It's almost like catching you up on what's
exactly.
going on.
If you didn't read last week's, or however they're divided, this is right where we left off.
And were the nowadays in your typical daily newspaper comic strip, unless it's like a comic that's like a Far Side that is just one panel, they're typically about 3 to 4 panel strips. And I'm curious if that was, I think it's pretty much the same. I think it's John that's been reading through some of the collections that have the strips and have been posting, the strips on Twitter. And I believe they're about 3 to 4 panels each strip, but I don't know. Once I realized, and it wasn't until we get to the next story that it kind of dawned on me that's what was going on. Then I almost took myself out of enjoying the stories, because I was trying to figure out, okay, so if a typical strip is about 4 panels, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's kind of a weird way to end that strip, and that's kind of a weird way to start that strip. But
you're trying too hard, man.
I know, exactly. I was thinking too much, and it took me out of enjoying the stories. But those are questions that maybe John can answer. And it also makes me wonder, because I know they've put collections together of those newspaper strips, but I don't know that they're exhaustive. I don't know that they're all the newspaper strips. And I wonder if these are in some of those collections, or if they haven't bothered to put these in any collections since they're already in, Superman issue number 2. Stupid things I get curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know I've seen, hardcover compilations of the newspaper strip, but I've not paid attention to know exactly where they started or what is included. Or
a lot of the ones that I've seen, like through Amazon, they're always like 1943 to. They seem to be later than what we're reading right now.
Yeah.
Which then naturally brings me to another question. When in relation to when this issue came out and when Action Comics was coming out around the same time, when were these strips originally printed? Were they, are they over a year old at this point? Are they, I don't know.
Well, these were February and March of 39.
Okay.
This book came out in August of 39.
So 6 to 7 months old.
Right. Yeah. And May and June for one story and April for another. So June 39 is the oldest, or I mean, is the closest to the publication. Yeah. And it's roughly 2 months. 2 months and a couple weeks. What is that? 10 weeks. 10 weeks from when this came out. Now, of course, it was printed before that to some amount. I don't know how long before it would be. So this is the actual appearance date of one of the stories is June. We know that that's when it came out. I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody can be sure when these books were printed. I don't know if they printed them a month before they sent them out. Is it the next week after they managed to get them out? I don't know what that time shipping whatever would have been for comics, but pretty close. These are pretty recently seen in the newspapers compared to when they put them together for the comic book. I'm kind of surprised they got the rights to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. However, since we know that the first issue of Superman was reprints, and Siegel and Schuster, we know at this time they're not just doing Action Comics. They're doing Action Comics. They're doing these strips for the newspaper. They're doing Slam Bradley. They're doing there's a number of other comics that they're doing. So instead of adding to their workload, at this point they're doing reprints, which it's like it's almost like this is that generation's version of trade paperbacks.
Right. Yeah, almost.
Yeah. But they would have had to colorize these for this issue, right? Because they would have been in the newspaper as black and white.
Right. I'm assuming. Yeah, they would have been black and white. Now I know there were color elements in the papers because the Spirit strip was in color.
Okay.
And it's coming out roughly the same time, 39, 40.
Interesting.
So it was 7 or 8 pages of color, and it was one of 3 strips in that little section, a special section that came out every Sunday. So
I mean
nowadays
what
the other 2 strips were.
Nowadays, and of course when we grew up, it's the comics that were in newspapers Monday through Saturday were 3 to 4 panel black and white strips, and then in the big Sunday insert, they might be a bit longer and they were all color.
So
all right. I don't know if I have anything else to say about this one. I didn't make any notes. The moments where Superman comes in at the end and grabs Croy when he's trying to force Trent to drink the poison, and Trent's hair color changes, then when Superman puts his hand in front of the gun, I found both of those scenes really interesting and yet odd at the same time, because with the exception of the one panel where you see Superman forcing the guy to drink the poison, it's just a hand that comes out of the shadows. You don't see, and I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, and the gambling thug, they're not getting injured when that weapon
right?
rather explosively backfires on him.
Well, I mean, we're seeing. I'm going to assume that panel is just at the beginning of the explosion, and we're just not seeing the aftermath because based on the next two stories, they're not afraid to show and tell you when somebody dies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, it's not. It wasn't a problem for those, so it probably wasn't a problem for this one either.
Yeah, but yeah, and it was kind of a fun. I like that Superman helps the guy out to get him, to get his name back up there, to fix his reputation. But then the whole time he's sparring with the guy and building him back up, so during that final bout the guy can do it himself. I like that. I really like
that was good. Yeah, I wondered how exactly, about halfway through, I wondered exactly how Superman would set him up to get his belt back.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. We want to thank everybody for listening into this episode of the Superman Super Show. If you want to drop us a line or ask us a question, just provide feedback in general. You can do it a variety of ways. You can email us at thesupermansupershow@gmail.com. You can tweet us at Supes Super Show. That's SUPS, one word, Super Show. You can join us over at the forum at forum.justanotherfanboy.com. Leave comments there. Every episode has its own posting, so you can leave all the comments that you want for all of the episodes that you want to comment on. All the links for this stuff will be in the show notes, so don't worry about trying to jot those down real quick, because I'm not going to repeat them. So, if you missed it, you'll just get them from the show notes. They're right there. We try to make it as easy for everybody as we can. But until next week, I'm Ed, that's Steven, and this was the Superman Super Show. Ciao.
Bye. You're just feeling very Italian tonight.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella. Okay, let me say this one. I mean, that's 2 episodes in an hour. That's pretty good.
Yep.
We might get through these other 2.
My goal. Get them in the can, make them so that you can work on them and give us a little bit of leeway in case crap comes up.
Because you know what? Crap always comes up. That's the thing about crap, isn't it?
Yep. Never goes down when you want it.
No.
Mr. Parton in the house.
Oh, Chris Parton. Doug and Chris and Terry.
All right.
Chris, we're in the middle of episodes right now, since you're joining us. Just waiting for files to save so we can start the next episode.
I'm good to go again.
Yeah, mine's still saving.
Okay.
My computer's so slow. I need an upgrade.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Don't get all fancy schmancy, man. It's the downfall of podcasting.
Well, I just need a better computer. I just need a faster processor, basically.
Mr. Parton, did you see the announcement of the Jason Aaron book coming to Boom that hit Twitter here earlier this evening?
Jason Aaron's a local boy for me.
Still or originally? Does he still live there?
I don't know if he still lives there.
Okay.
But he was. There's a number of creators that are from this area. It's
the
quite amazing.
Kansas, Missouri states have some, and they're all relatively similar in the kind of stuff that they write, which makes me afeared to live in either one of those states, because the stuff that they write is kind of on the intense side. So
I think Cullen Bunn is local.
Yes.
I know Terry Moore, the guy, the original artist on Walking Dead.
No, that's not Terry Moore.
Adlard. Tony Moore.
Tony Moore.
No, yeah, not the new, not the current artist, but
right.
The guy who did the first 6, Tony Moore. Yeah, I think he's from KC. A lot of them are from KC.
Yep. Yeah,
Who's
Chris, we know
rich?
you're famous. Oh, some boom schmuck. Whatever. Okay.
Boom schmoom.
Chris is being all I know people and stuff.
He's dropping names. He's a name dropper.
You got to listen to the Image
Richie.
Addiction podcast. It's just
It's all he does. He's just telling stories, dropping names. When I was having mimosas with Brian Michael Benders,
like it's a game of pickup sticks, yo.
Yeah, that Chris Pardon. All right, I'm recording. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 22, Superman Champions Universal Peace. That is a great title, too. Lots of great titles in this issue. Hello and welcome to
very fitting. I mean, they are exactly what the story is.
Yes. Yep.
Sorry.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steven. And 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore.
Howdy, this is Ed. And as you can see, that's not Ed.
That's not Ed,
right here, not Ed. So yeah,
that's right. We're kind of blowing through the banter portion of these episodes, so we can try to fit as many episodes in a recording night. So I'm just gonna keep moving on and tell you folks that today we're looking at a little story called Superman Champions Universal Peace, which is one of 3 stories that appear in Superman issue number 2, written by Jerry Siegel, pencils by Joe Shuster, inks by Paul Cassidy. Superman number 2 was, of course, published by DC Comics. It has a cover date of September 1939 and an approximate on-sale date of August 22nd, 1939, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics. Now, I will say, I noticed that when I go to like dcfandom.com to get the synopsis for these stories, that's where that cover date comes from. But if you look at the cover, there's no cover date. There's nothing. There's no date on the cover. And in fact, Mike's Amazing World of Comics shows the cover date just as fall 1939. So what's the deal there, dcfandom.com? Is that, who knows?
Yep. You'd have to track who put the information there and where they got their information. Speaking of information, I have information that says that this story is a reprint of newspaper strips that were published from May 1st, 1939 through June 10th, 1939.
Some good info.
So if that's true or not, I don't know. My question would be, why would they lie? So
right.
And these dates for the news strips I got off of the entries on the Grand Comic Book Database for Superman issue 2, which had a number, issue 2. Remember, the first issue did not.
Yeah.
It just said Superman. So they're like, we did so well with that one, we're going to make an issue 2.
Exactly. That's how I feel that came about. That when they did the first one, they just planned on, we're just going to put this out because everybody's enjoying the strips and they may not know that we have these stories going on in Action Comics. So we're going to put something out there for people to buy, because we want to make more money. And then it probably, did so well that they said, well, let's do another one of these in the fall.
Yep.
All right. Well, let me tell you what happened here in this story. Clark Kent is sent to interview Professor Runyon about a new type of gas he's discovered, one so deadly it can seep right through a gas mask.
And that's a gasp, not gas. Right? So, yeah. And that's a cough. Yeah.
My throat is just clogging up.
It's the gas.
Yeah, it is, man. The gas. Runyon gives Clark a demonstration of the effects by exposing a monkey wearing a gas mask to the deadly toxin. And I'm going to interject here and say that scene started out as adorable and ended horrifically.
The monkey had a name.
I know. It's like, oh, look at the
it a
monkey,
name.
and oh, it's got a gas mask on.
Oh,
Please tell
my
me they're not going to
goodness.
kill this monkey. And yeah, they're just very not. Oh, so the monkey died. Yes, it did. That was quite shocking. I was clutching at my pearls.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so the gas immediately kills the test subject, impressing Clark. During the interview, some thugs suddenly burst into the lab. Clark is pushed out of the room, but his super hearing picks up what is being said. The Roughnecks leader, Bartow, demands Runyon to hand over his formula for the gas, but the professor refuses. He won't let them sell it to foreign powers. Bartow gives him 24 hours to reconsider or else. When they leave, Kent hails a taxi and follows their car out of the city to a small farm home sitting next to an airfield. He takes note of this location for later. Back at the Daily Star, Clark types up his interview with Runyon quickly so he can get back to Bartow and his men. George, the editor, informs him about a call he just received. Professor Runyon was found dead in his home. Later in his apartment, Clark changes to Superman and returns to the farm home just in time to catch Bartow and his partners leaving on a plane. The plane was flying high over the country of Boravia. How would you pronounce that?
Boravia, yeah.
So the plane was flying high over the country of Boravia, a land currently troubled by civil war. Superman tears a hole in the plane's roof and drops in. Bartow grabs a parachute and jumps out, hoping to get away. Superman drops out of the plane and grabs hold of Bartow in midair, threatening to cut the chute to pieces if he doesn't give him the formula. After leaning on him a little more, Superman finally gets the name of the buyer, Lubain. A party of Boravian soldiers find Superman and take him into custody, only to discover their bullets and bayonets are useless against his hard as granite skin. Growing bored of the soldiers' attempts to kill him, Superman takes off. Before searching for Bartow and Lubain, he takes the time to destroy the weapons and munitions being used in the war. The warring armies are helpless to stop him. Good Lord, this is a long synopsis. I keep getting the long freaking synopsis.
This is a long one, yeah.
This is a long one. Lubain's hideout isn't too hard to find. Superman catches sight of Bartow's car and follows him. He crashes through the roof, demanding Lubain give up the formula. But Lubain's scientist has already concocted a batch of the sinister gas. He holds up the vial for Superman to see, threatening to drop it and kill them both if he doesn't go away. Superman steps forward and Lubain, startled, accidentally lets the vial drop. The gas seeps up and into Lubain's lungs. In his dying breath, he wonders why Superman wouldn't die. The Man of Steel replies that his super physique means the gas has no effect on him. The formula was in hand, but Superman wasn't done yet. He rushed to Boravia's government building, where negotiations between representatives of the two warring factions were currently underway. However, neither side would agree to budge on their outrageous demands for peace, and so the meeting was to be adjourned. Superman bursts in then, shouting that the talks must continue. The representatives argue that it was impossible. So Superman begins to smash the pillars around the room. The building starts to tremble as each pillar turns to rubble. He grabs hold of the remaining support pillar, threatening to collapse the structure on top of them unless they reconsider their terms. Admitting to each other that their demands were far-fetched, the two representatives finally each sign the peace treaty. Returning home to Metropolis, Clark Kent is given a warm reception by his Daily Star co-workers for such an outstanding story. Bartow and his gang are arrested, and Clark secretly tears the formula to shreds, believing the gas is just too deadly to exist. Good Lord, that was a lot of synopsis. What'd you think?
That's a long one. I enjoyed the first story more than this one, but this one I enjoyed more than a lot of the recent action stories. So
Yeah.
it's, it was kind of a balanced. Yeah, it was okay. I wasn't disappointed in having read it. I didn't feel that it wasted my time. The golden age is just very different, and
Yes.
you need to acknowledge that. I think. Well, here I'll rephrase that. I have to acknowledge that in order to be able to read these stories and get anything resembling enjoyment out of them. I read all three of these back to back, so I think that's pretty good because that's like 40 some pages of golden age books, and they're different. They're different. But yeah, I like this. It didn't have the not champagning. It didn't have the feel that a lot of the action stories have, that there was something that got in Siegel's craw and he wanted to write about it.
Yep.
None of these stories, this one as well, really had that feeling. To me, all three of these in the eponymously named Superman book, which we know are reprints of the newspaper strips, seem to be more stories for story's sake.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you have to have a point, and if you can get a moral into those, and heck, 1939, they're watching all of this stuff going on over in Europe.
Yep.
So a war, not necessarily a civil war, but war is very prominent. A civil war, I guess, would separate it from what was going on in real life. So they chose a civil war. By the name of the country, I assumed this was a Eastern European country.
Agree.
Moravia. I mean, it just it just has that sound to it. Modern, you can see the implements being used. It's a modern war, so obviously it's taking place now.
Yeah.
I hate. Let's see, what was the name? Ambrose. Ambrose was the name of that poor little monkey.
Yeah.
They gave it a name, and then they killed it. Wow. I mean, they're not detached and just saying, this monkey for experiments or this creature or not. No, it's a cutely drawn little monkey. They gave it a name, and then I was like, oh, okay. And this is he's not even the bad guy.
No.
No.
Yeah.
He's just scientists that, came up with, and throughout the strip, he gives his own reasoning as to what his thinking was and how it would be used and why. First, he says he won't give it to a foreign power.
Right.
But he will give it to his military, provided they use it in a certain way. So,
in a defensible war, in a defense war.
Yeah. Right. Which all wars are, right? Somebody is on the defensive. So but probably the fact that you're dealing with a deadly, we'll say mustard like gas, which it's my understanding that at the end of World War I, that was outlawed. So that was 20 years ago from when this was written.
Yeah.
And he's writing a story about a dude making a deadly gas, which I would assume is supposed to be illegal. You're not, the government does what the government does, but as a civilian, you're not, I wouldn't think, allowed to do stuff like that right now.
Yeah.
But he makes it, and on top of that, the fact this one page here, the little guy laying in the bell jar, that he looks asleep. I mean wow.
When I got to that point in the book, permit me to introduce Ambrose. Say, what is this, a gag? It's just this adorable little monkey, and then he's in the bell jar with a gas mask on, and he's pumping in an ordinary gas, which, as you can see, Ambrose is unaffected. And Ambrose, even though he's got the gas mask on, he's hopping up and down. He just seems so happy.
Yeah.
It's just, and then the whole time as I'm reading this, I'm getting to this point. I'm like, okay, they haven't specifically, I don't think they had specifically said at this point that the gas actually kills, just that it's powerful. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's a sleep gas, right? Maybe that's, and then no, he's dead.
He's dead.
And yeah. He does. He looks like he's just sleeping, but no.
Yeah, that was all just kind of okay. In modern parlance, that was all kind of triggering.
Yes.
So it's like,
It
wow.
really was, because I in my mind I'm going, no, don't do that, and no, they did it. Oh my gosh,
Wow, yeah, and like I said, he is not even the bad guy. That scientist.
Yeah.
So if the good guys are willing to do that, that tells you how bad the bad guys really are.
Yeah. Well, they didn't give a crap about monkeys back then.
Yeah, I know. Here before too long, they're going to start shooting them off into space. And all kinds
exactly.
Of
stuff. Monkeys were there to help us make a better future.
Right.
That's the monkeys.
Monkeys were there because you couldn't use human beings yet.
And if to make a better future, that means that we have to invent a kind of gas that can seep through gas masks and kill any invading army, because it's only for a defensible war.
Exactly. Right.
Then yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think I'm in the same boat that you are. I didn't like this as much as the first one, but I did rather like it. Like the first one in issue number 2, this also has almost a familiar, it feels like one of the early Action Comic stories, just simply because of the moment. Well, first of all, we had the war in San Monte. That was kind of a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the moment in that where Superman saves Lois from the firing squad, and we have a firing squad in this one. And then we have Superman forcing the military leaders in the war in San Monte to come up with a peace treaty, and he does that here as well, which I don't think a peace treaty is going to last very long if it's not something that they really agree on. It's just something they're being forced to do. I think
if it's coerced, I'm not sure a coerced peace treaty is going to do well.
I have a feeling a month after Superman left, they were just right back to it.
Yeah.
I also got rather tired of reading the name of the group of criminals that are selling this gas, the International Armament Racketeers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you'd call them nowadays. It's on the tip of my tongue, but Armament Racketeers, they kept referring to them as throughout this story. And I was like, that's a mouthful. Just the Armament Racketeers. They would be called what? Just weapons dealers, right?
Yeah. Munitions dealers, weapons dealers, whatever they called Nicolas Cage in the movie. What was it? War?
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Is that the movie where he was the internationally famous weapons dealer?
Armament Racketeer.
Yeah. Also, which struck me as just curious. After he's captured and they're finding out, well, first their bullets won't work, right? So what does the one soldier do? Because he thinks they're shooting blanks.
He shoots himself in the foot.
Really? And he says, ouch, my foot.
Yeah. It's like, we must be shooting blanks. Let me try by shooting myself in the foot and see what happens.
Oh, wow.
That whole scene, if you ever watch Monty Python's Flying Circus, there's an episode called The Cycling Tour. And it's one of the few episodes that kind of has a continuing narrative. It tells one story throughout the entire episode. And it's about a guy who goes on a cycling tour of North Cornwall on his bicycle and somehow ends up in Russia. I'm not going to get into all that, but he's in Russia and he's captured for espionage, and they throw him against the wall, and they're gonna shoot him in a firing squad, and they do the countdown, and they fire, and they all fire their guns, and the camera doesn't let you see Mr. Pither against the wall. You just see the firing squad, and they're all like, blam. John Cleese is the leader of the firing squad, and he looks off camera to where Mr. Pither is, and he looks back at them and he goes, "I can't believe you missed." And so they have to drag him back to his cell so that the guys can practice some more, and they bring him back to try to shoot him again, and they miss again. They find out they're looking down the wrong bit on the sight when they're firing, and that just reminded me of that sketch for some reason, because they're shooting at him and they assume that they're missing. This whole firing squad shooting at one man, and they've all missed. And then of course the one guy thinks he's firing blank, so he shoots himself in the foot. I mean, that could have taken place in a Monty Python.
Oh yeah, easily. Well, how do I know I'm not shooting blanks? Yeah.
But hey, at least he probably got to sit out the rest of the war.
I would think so.
It's one of those $1 million wounds.
If there's anything of his foot left, and they were able to save any of it in 1939, I'm not sure what the chances of that were going to be. But
you'd hear about those guys on the front line shooting themselves in the foot so they could get off that front line. That's when you've reached a desperate point.
And another scene here that wasn't mentioned in the summary, where he attacks the dirigible.
Oh yeah,
which is a word you don't hear very often nowadays.
Dirigible.
But he's
the Zeppelin.
He's jumping around with bombs, bombing one side. We don't know what side it is. Taking out the munitions factories so that they will stop making the bombs.
I believe he was taking the side of the rebels.
Okay.
Only because when he's captured, they refer to capturing one of the rebels.
Okay.
So as we all know, the rebels are always the good guys.
Yes.
So, but
they were in our history. So I mean,
that's right. That's
why
right.
Not?
But yeah, that was just some epic stuff where, they almost called it this battle between him and the dirigible in the air. And then, him collecting all the bombs and jumping around and dropping them on the munitions factory and just kicking butt. Superman's just kicking butt and taking names. And something else they didn't mention in the summary, despite the fact that it being so incredibly long, when he boards the plane, I can't believe Superman fell for it. First of all, Bartow's like, "All right, I'll give you the formula. I got to go get it though.
Yeah, it's over here.
Would you fly the plane while I go get it?" And Superman's like, "Sure, I'll fly the plane." And I'm like, "Seriously, Superman? Come on." Yeah. And then the guy shoots up the controls and then leaps out of the plane. And Superman again, just the badass that he is, he's like, "I'm just gonna follow him right out."
Really, he just jumps out. And at the height that they are at, I'm like, will he get hurt if he?
Yeah, I mean, he's fallen from a building.
Yeah. But this is
from a few thousand feet in the air. Yeah. Superman don't care. He's just like, I'm just pissed me off. I'm going after him.
Jump out of the plane with no parachute and grabs the dude with the parachute, which we've seen in movies nowadays several times.
I read that and I'm like, that's where they got that in Point Break.
All the way back in 1939 it first showed up. Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is like, I want to do like Superman in issue number 2 of Superman and jump out of the plane. And that's I believe that in every fiber of my being.
But if he had participated in World War II, this is the kind of stuff we would have expected Superman to do.
Yeah.
That's why World War II wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. So,
that was always a tricky thing with writing comics during that time period is, I know certain books would, like there was I think it was a DC book. Well, I think it was New Frontier. Hitler had the Spear of Destiny, which the heroes wouldn't participate in the war as long as that threat, is like you drop your bombs, we'll drop our bombs. Nobody's going to drop their bombs. But,
well, that's fine, because I believe the way that was supposed to work was that they fell under the sway of Hitler if they got too close. But what kept Hitler's Supermensch from coming over here and just pooping all over our stuff.
Yeah,
I never heard
Yeah.
how we did that or how he kept them from doing that or whatever. Just how he kept Superman and the Flash and these people from doing anything over there.
Yep.
Except the non-powered people. Now, of course, they were able to go and they were able to fight conventional.
Yep, because they're not gonna.
No,
they're not
they
going to
can be
change the
shot
tide
and
of the war.
bleed,
Yeah.
and just like Captain America, although he's kind of right on the line of being too much.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's sitting here thinking about that. Yeah, I'm always like, well, I know that there were superpowered people for the Axis.
Yeah, because
why did they never come down to England, to France, to the U.S.?
Yeah, at the most, it's like they were involved in espionage. It's like
or defense.
One of our superheroes that have to fight them because they've broken into a government building to steal the military secrets or something.
Right? Yeah,
they're not there to enslave all of our people. So
if anybody out there listening now or who listens to this podcast knows what kept the Axis supermensch from attacking our side of the lines and winning the war in that way, I've never heard or read. I'd be curious if that was ever addressed.
Yep.
Okay. So either way, Superman is not in World War II. He is in the Civil War of Moravia, the second Civil War he has involved himself in also.
Yeah. I find it interesting that they're doing these newspaper strips that, while they're not copies, they're not just rewriting stories that they've done elsewhere,
right?
But there's some of the themes are the same. We got Superman helping a sports figure by becoming that sports figure. We've got now Superman in the middle of a civil war and forcing a treaty.
Yep.
I don't remember if the third story made me think of any Action Comic stuff, but we'll get to that in the next episode.
Yep.
All right.
Speaking
anything
else?
Else?
No. I think that's everything that comes to mind for this one.
All right. Then I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of the Superman Super Show. If you want to drop us a line, ask us a question, or just provide feedback in general, you can send an email to the supermansupershow@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on Twitter over at Soups Super Show, or come join the forum over at forum.justanotherfanboy.com. The links for all of those will be in the show notes. And, if you've been listening this long, you know that we love the feedback, and we will dedicate entire episodes to your feedback. So if that doesn't give you any encouragement, then I don't think my wallet's around here. It's full of moths anyway. Anyway, that's all we got, folks. Until next week, I'm Steven. That's Ed. And this was the Superman Super Show. Bye.
Ciao.
Chabelle. Okay, now we got to go through the whole rigmarole of saving.
Was 22. There you go, Steven. There's a different song to get in your head.
Chris and Doug, you still with us?
Start up again. All right.
Oh, mine's done saving. Yay. Okay, I'm recording.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Chris is giving the devil fingers. I think there's what that is.
2 horns up for rock and roll.
Doug likes the musical interlude. Thank you, Doug. I've been working on that. I'm trying to help Steven. He had a particular song going through his head, and I was trying to insert a different, ditty, as they say.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode 23, Superman and the Sky.
That's a blooper.
Okay. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 23, Superman and the Skyscrapers. Howdy, y'all, and welcome to an all-new episode of the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name's Ed, and 1,000 miles over there to my left is another host, Mr. Steeven Orr.
Howdy.
Chris, it is the Superman Super Show.
Yeah, Chris, settle down.
Are you not at the right place, dog? Were you thinking this was something else?
For those of you listening to the audio, podcaster Chris Parton is mocking Ed.
He's razzing me
for problems that Ed had at the beginning of this episode. And we can't all be professionals like you, Chris.
Wow. I'm identifying as something a certain kind of way right now. I don't know what to say.
Is he triggering you?
I am feeling triggered.
Makes me sad.
See, I'm triggered. Thank you. Okay.
Hey, today that was a good one.
Today we're looking at Superman and the Skyscrapers, which appeared in Superman issue number 2, written by Jerry Siegel, penciled by Joe Shuster, inked by Paul Cassidy, and according to the Grand Comics database, lettered by Mr. Joe Shuster as well. Nice. That may be the first lettering that we have been able to determine. So had to throw that in there. Now, Superman issue 2 was published by DC Comics and has a cover date of September 1939 with an approximate on-sale date of August 22nd, 1939, according to the awesome website Mike's Amazing World of Comics. And Mr. Parton throwing up the big horse, the donkey head. Looks like a donkey, as Shrek would call it. Alrighty, this particular story apparently is a reprint of the newspaper strips that were published between and including April 3rd, 1939 and April 29th, 1939. All the whole month of April for this one. And here is what happened. After several deaths have taken place during the construction of the Atlas building, Superman takes it upon himself to do a little investigating. He discovers that the steel girders were being sabotaged on the orders of a crook named Butch Grogan and decides to pay him a visit. Butch won't talk at first, but Superman demonstrates his strength by crushing Butch's gun in his hand, and his lips loosen up. That's Butch's lips, not Superman's lips. He was being offered a large sum to see that the Atlas was never completed. The man who hired him, none other than Nate Grayson, CEO of rival company Acme Construction, which we're all familiar with from the Wile E. Coyote commercials. They went on to,
This Acme is spelled with a K.
Oh, it's not the same Acme?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, Acme wanted Bruce Construction, Inc., the funder of the Atlas building project, to go out of business, eliminating some of the competition. Superman leaves Butch on the street as cops approach. When he tries to run, despite their warnings, Grogan is shot dead. Now, Nat Grayson has prepared for Superman's arrival by rigging his home with explosive triggered by movement. To Grayson's surprise, Superman makes it past the detonations. He rips the door to the office off its hinges and confronts Grayson directly. Not much force is needed on Superman's part. Nat Grayson, turns out to be a cowardly man who agrees to call the police and turn himself in, bringing justice to the men who lost their lives. Back at the Daily Star, Superman, in his civilian identity of Clark Kent, meets with his editor over his latest report. He's asked how he managed to get the story of Grayson's arrest before any other paper. Just luck, Clark replies. Now, that summary had some massive...
Oh, yeah. Big holes.
icing over of what actually happened and how it happened. So yeah, that is a with a grain of salt summary for sure. More so than the other two that we've, especially the one you got last episode.
Right.
It told everything. I think it
didn't leave anything out.
No, it had all the names, all the places. It was complete. So again, for me, first of all, this just felt very different from what they have been doing in Action Comics. And for the most part, I have to say that I enjoyed this story more than most of the Action Comic strips we've been reading. For what that is, just my feelings after I read it. You read it and you sit there for a minute after, and you get whatever. You like it, you don't like it, you want to throw the book, you want to keep reading, whatever it's going to be. So after these three stories, I'm thinking, at the time, this Superman comic would have been pretty daggone cool.
Yeah.
Especially compared to the first one that I just got, probably a quarter ago.
Yep.
Very different. Very different.
This, we didn't really talk about it last week with the second episode, or the second story that came out of Superman #2. But this is the second time of these three stories that Superman just basically stands aside and lets somebody die. Because the first in last week, the previous story, it was the guy at the end when he dropped the vial of that gas, and Superman just stands there and lets him die. And in this one, the dude that gets killed by the cops.
What is the point of that, really? I mean, for the story, what did that? Now the dude dying by his own hand I got that. But this one, it's like, and I noticed, I thought that this house was out somewhere.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, when they show when they show the police coming, they're on the street, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought they went out to the house. So I'm not sure what happened there.
One of those houses that the developers who were building the skyscrapers, they couldn't buy the house, so the house just stayed there.
Yeah,
they built the skyscrapers around it.
Yep.
I'm glad I read this story before I saw the title. Because if I had just read that title first, not knowing what I was getting into, I would have been super disappointed, because Superman and the Skyscrapers makes me feel like he's fighting skyscrapers. Like skyscrapers are transforming into giant robots, and he's fighting them in the streets of Metropolis or whatever town. I don't know. Have they ever said at this point that this is Metropolis?
I don't think not yet.
I don't think they have. Yeah. But yeah, I actually liked this one least of the three in Superman #2. There really wasn't much to this. It's a guy who wants to do better than his competition, so he hires a crook to, sabotage the buildings, and Superman makes a guy walk off a skyscraper, and now that I as I've said, each story now, each episode, something about there's been something in each one of these three stories from Superman 2 issue 2 that's made me think of an old Action Comic story. And in this one, it's when he's interrogating the guy and he's throwing him up in the air and catching him. Yes. He did that in a story from Action Comics. I don't remember what issue it was, but.
And we do need to make sure that we recognize this Night Watchman, because using a hacksaw, he seriously weakened a steel girder. Okay. Yeah. Unto breaking when he walked on the section overhanging beyond his cut. But he took the time with a hacksaw to cut through a steel girder and weaken it enough to do that. Yeah, Mr. Night Watchman.
Yeah, we're led to believe that Superman is just kind of hiding in the shadows watching this. And that had to have taken 4-6 hours,
Days, weeks.
And Superman's probably just sitting back there looking at us watch. Well, geez, come on.
Yeah, what's he doing?
Get to that point so I can step out of the shadows and be all mysterious. It's like, I hear about this guy, and in Gotham that does stuff like this all the time, and I've been wanting to try it for a while.
Yeah, it's not his bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a hacksaw is all he had to sabotage the building of this building. So that's
And
you go, dog.
You know,
That's
I would have to
dedication.
assume that in the light of day, anybody who is working on the construction of a skyscraper and is walking around on those steel girders is going to notice that the girder has been cut almost completely in two.
Well, okay.
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Because you think there'd be a bit of bowing or something there. You think there'd be a gap.
Something.
Yeah. But this guy's killed. I mean, we don't know that this is what he's done for all 6 of the people that have previously died.
Right.
But he's got some freaking muscles in that arm, though. Sawing that long. That's some cardio right there.
And how about this? Joe Shuster in 3 of possible 5 panels drew, and more if you go to the page before that, but he consistently drew the lamp that this dude had when he was walking around, when he was beginning to fall, and as he fell, that lamp was in every panel.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Once it was
panels.
It was there, he kept it there. That's dedication.
Yeah.
to a point.
Now he does. This guy doesn't die. He does catch him. I actually rather like that part because the guy falls. He steps on to the part of the girder that is no longer supported because he spent hours and hours and hours cutting through it with a hacksaw, and he falls. And Superman dives down, grabs him.
He still can't fly.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He dives down, grabs him, and before they can hit the ground, tosses him back up in the air. I thought that was very clever. Yep. Tosses him back up in the air, lands on the ground, and then catches the guy.
Turns around and catches him as he falls back down. Yep.
And then that leads him to another in what is a never-ending series of mobsters in this city, Butch Grogan. There just seems to be an endless supply of mobsters.
And they're into everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
subway management, building construction,
taxi
cabs. Yeah.
I mean, they're into everything.
Oh, yeah. And when he gets to Butch's, he breaks in and takes the guy by the throat. These are very, these are a lot darker. The newspaper strips are much darker.
Very aggressive.
Superman
doesn't just say it. He also does things. In the comic book, in the action strips, he just says it.
Yep. Drags him outside by his ankles, and then that's when he starts throwing him up in the air.
Before that, on that same page, the top row, the right-hand panel, where dude is sitting in the chair and Superman is standing there talking to him. See the panel?
Yeah.
Dude's arm looks broken to me.
Right? It does.
That is a weird angle for that arm to be at. So
I mean, I'm going to assume that he broke the man's arm when he threw him into the chair.
Slamming him in the chair, he busted up his arm.
It doesn't look so bad in the next panel, but
that one, it's like
that one he does looks very much broken.
Yep, drags him outside, and then this is where he starts playing the aerial yo-yo with the dude.
Yep.
Throws him up 2 or 3 times until he decides to confess, or actually decides to do what Superman is telling him he needs to do.
Yeah, and then when the cop shows up, so then the other guy arrives. He's trying to find Butch Grogan.
Butch Grogan, yeah.
He's tossing this guy in the air, trying to find out where Butch is. Butch shows up. Superman crushes his gun, and when the cop shows up, it's one of the funniest moments because suddenly the cop's there. What's going on here? Don't either of you move. And Grogan says, "A cop," and Superman says, "Sorry, I gotta go." And they both just take off running, and this cop is just firing into the air. He's just running and shooting. And Grogan manages to get to a phone to warn the boss, but sure enough, the cop catches up to him. That is a wicked panel
down.
when the cop shoots him. It almost, to me, looks like he shot him in the throat from the back, in the back of the neck.
And it's funny to me because the little cloud that the dude has here, I always see as a reference to somebody farting in cartoons of this age. So I'm like,
well, and the
action
lines,
back. What?
The action lines coming off his head, to me, look like blood spurting.
Could be that he took one in the head.
Yeah, that's a violent panel for a Superman book.
Now, in the summary, Superman ripped the office door. No. Dude had a safe room built of steel that Superman ripped the door off of. Completely different from being just an office door. So they kind of downplayed that a little bit in the summary.
Exactly. He goes into a metal room where he can use what does he call them? Photoelectric cells throughout the house to know where Superman is. He's planted bombs all over the house and then just starts letting them go. Just starts blowing up various parts of the house. Yeah, and Superman rips that metal door off the hinges. And
which is a sweet looking panel, by the way, where he finally got that and it's buckling.
Yeah, and then he's got the guy on his knees by the throat, and the guy's yelling, "Don't hurt me!" And then again, it can't be legal. I don't understand. I have to assume that guys like this end up, these cases get thrown out of court because he's confessing to a crime under duress, under threat of death, basically.
Right. Coercion. Yeah.
Yeah. So that may not have been a big thing, maybe in 39, but
I don't know. Some lawyer historian will have to let us know when that came into effect, that coercion was not a properly attained anything in police work.
And then we get another kind of Clark winking at the camera type of endings. The second type in this issue. How did you manage to get all this before it even happened? And Clark's saying, "Just luck, Chief." Wink.
Yep.
You can almost hear the wah 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 or something at the end of it.
And I like how they put both a verbal and a thought in the same bubble.
Just luck, Chief, and the assistance of Superman.
That would have been the voice on the radio show. He'd come across and said that at the end.
Yeah. And then we're told that we can follow the adventures of Superman in every issue of Action Comics.
Action Comics, yep.
Yeah.
And then there's a story in this.
Yeah, I didn't read the text story.
I didn't either.
I probably will, but I didn't get a chance to do that today. So
I wonder if this is one of the things that Clark wrote, because at the end it's signed police chief makes racketeer leave town. So I wonder if this is one of the reports that he had submitted in the previous three stories.
Yeah, that's a good question. By Clark Kent. Yeah, it's only 2 pages. I'll have to read that tomorrow.
All right. Anything else you want to say before we close up shop?
No, other than the tech story, this of course rounds out the 3 stories from issue number 2. We made a decision among the 2 of us not to dedicate an entire episode on the 1 issue, but to split it up into 3 episodes, 1 episode per story.
Right.
So I'm glad we did that. Because otherwise this episode would have been about an hour and a half long. But it's the first story in issue number 2 was my favorite, and the last story was my least favorite. So it's like it started high and ended low. But they were still fun. I still enjoyed them. A lot of depth.
66 pages for this book.
At least you know, at least 2 men died and a monkey in this issue.
It's much violence in this issue of Superman. And I like the cover because it shows him kind of floating in the air.
Yeah.
Almost like he's flying, but we know so far that he can't fly. But he is doing something superish, right? He's in the air. Something. We see mountains kind of below and in the background. So he's obviously up and, not standing, holding a car, punching a train. No, this is like even cooler stuff. He can fly, but I mean, he can't,
Not quite yet.
So yeah, you'd pick this up and it's Superman and it looks like he's flying and okay. So I thought.
And one of the stories is called Superman and the Skyscrapers. So there's got to be giant robot skyscrapers in this book.
I don't think they would have been really thinking about robots in 1939 yet.
Probably not. I think about the movie Big, and one of the toys that Tom Hanks had to test in that movie was a transformer that transformed into a building. It was a building that transformed into a robot, and I remember him going, I don't get it. It's a
I just recently learned that he was on an episode of Taxi before he was anything else.
Really?
I did not know that.
Doesn't surprise me. I mean, I remember him from Bosom Buddies. That was the first thing I ever saw him in.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was in a couple of episodes of Family Ties.
Yeah, he was her boyfriend. Brother. Her brother. Yeah,
her alcoholic brother.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the first movie I ever saw him in was in Splash.
I never saw Splash.
Saw that sucker.
I still have not seen Splash.
Yeah, so. It's not bad. It's got some good stuff in it.
I think
the movie of his that I've never seen from back in the day was Bachelor Party.
Nope, not my kind of movie either. Yeah. Not then and not now. So
Bachelor Party, and I think The Man with One Red Shoe. Never seen either of those.
That's a Belushi.
Was that Belushi? I don't know.
That's a Belushi, Man with One Red Shoe.
Okay. Tom Hanks, though, is one of those actors nowadays that if a new movie with Tom Hanks is coming out, I'm gonna see it.
Yes, I
like him.
He is on the list of see that movie. So, yeah. All right. So
let's wrap it up.
We want to thank everybody for listening in to this episode of the Superman Super Show, Mr. Parton. If you want to drop us a line, ask us a question, or just provide feedback in general, you can send an email to the supermansupershow@gmail.com. You can also feel free to reach out to us on Twitter over at Soups, S-U-P-S, Super Show, one word, or come join the fun over on the forums at forum.justanotherfanboy.com. All of these links will be in the show notes, so don't worry about it. You got it. So until next week, folks, I'm Ed. That's Steven. And this was the Superman Super Show. Ciao.
Arrivederci. So, you know who I'm doing when I go, Hadi?
Minnie Pearl.
Minnie Pearl. Let me see that kitten. Here is one of our stray kittens.
Ooh. All fuzzy. Yeah.
This is the only boy, we think. There's one other out there, but this is Jet, and he loves being inside. Can't open the door without Jet running in and going straight to the dog's dish to see if there's any food in it. Chris Parton says Tom Hanks was the man with one red shoe.
But wasn't that a Belushi vehicle though? I thought.
I don't know. I never saw it.
Is Jim Belushi? Was Jim Belushi not in that? Nope. Touche. Yeah, Jim Belushi was in it. There he is. Dabney Coleman.
The brother of John Belushi.
Yeah, John's brother. Okay. John's older brother? Was Jim older?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Carrie Fisher was in it. But yeah, for whatever reason, I remember Jim Belushi being in that movie before I remember Tom Hanks. So I don't know why, but I'm not necessarily a Jim Belushi fan to keep up with that. Just,
Yeah.
I don't know, got stuck in there somewhere. And
I've seen a number of things that Jim Belushi has been in,
mm-hmm.
but I don't know that I'd call myself a Jim Belushi fan.
A fan. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, dog. There
Chris
you
says
go.
Chris says Jim is younger. He's the younger brother.
Jim is younger. Okay. There's your 4 episodes to work with, plus what?
Yay!
We got another one in the can, right?
So we got episodes for the next 5 weeks.
Yeah, you've got 5 to work on.
Yeah.
Cool, let me just say, having tried doing this before on my own, coming up on 25 consecutive weekly shows, that is a thing.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
I mean, that's just, to put them out that regularly and consistently, that's a task. That's a work.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the 25 episode anniversary isn't that big of a deal like it used to be.
Right. Yeah.
Way back in the day. But yeah. 25.
Well, but also as somebody that looks at things like this, trust me when I say there are probably as many shows that did not get 25 that did. So
yeah, there are like, if you try to apply for like a podcast network or to be a part of a podcasting group on like a Reddit or somewhere like that, many of them these days require that you have like 20 to 25 episodes in the can before don't even bother if you haven't gotten to that point, because we're not going to let you in just so you can pod fade 2 weeks later,
Right. Because, not to necessarily put those people down, but it is you have to make a concerted effort to find something to talk about it, to get it ready and to post it consistently,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm at that point in just another fanboy right now where I'm kind of, last week I didn't put out a new episode. I just didn't feel like I just wasn't feeling it. And I should have a new episode ready to go tomorrow, but I don't. It's like I have to make the choice, see how I'm feeling tomorrow. If I feel up to recording an episode during lunch that I can put out later in the afternoon, or am I just going to skip a week, or I don't know. I mean, but you get to that kind of point where you're just like, even though I took a break not that long ago, you get kind of burnt out after a while.
It's just my only advice is, just with so many other things, don't stay off the horse too long, because then that gets comfortable, and it's
no, I agree.
Whatever you're having to try to fight to do it, it'll become even more uphill because, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks, a month, and
you get used to not doing it, and that just becomes the norm.
Oh, yeah. That is the habit, not
exactly.
As opposed to, the habit was me sitting down every Tuesday night and, whatever it is. So,
All right, then. Chris says that's the truth. And he's a professional podcaster.
He is. He is of the second/third generation podcasters.
He knows a lot of big names.
Yep. Chris Parton and
Richie Cunningham.
What was it? I can imagine how hard it is to do an episode every week. Well, thank you, Doug. And I'm not, I'm not trying to make it. I'm not trying to martyr anything at all. It's just like anything else that we do that we want to do. You just, as a podcaster, there are things that you have to consider, and one of them, unfortunately, in a way, is consistency.
Yeah.
Everybody that knows anything about podcasts will tell you, man, if you're not consistent, it's going. And so, whether or not that's true, it's in my head that whatever I do, 2 weeks, one a month, one a week, whatever it is, do that. And unfortunately, always do that.
Yeah. Whatever you have communicated to your audience, this is what I'm going to do. That's what you need to do.
Yeah. If you want to keep listeners. Now, if you don't care about listeners, then whatever, you can put 2 out every year or whatever you want to do. But And yeah, so.
And the thing is that I get that, and I am somewhat a believer in that. But on the other hand, it's like I think about podcasts like Half Hour Wasted. So they haven't put out an episode in forever.
Okay.
But I subscribe to them. I'm still subscribed to them.
Right.
And if they put out an episode tomorrow, I'm going to listen to it.
Right. You'll know, and yeah.
So they haven't lost me because they're not consistent. But I do think I can see people going into their podcatcher once every few months and going, all right, I got to clean this up.
Exactly. Yeah. This one hasn't put anything out in a while, so why do I even have it on here?
Okay.
Sorry, it sounds like it's getting really windy outside, like we got a storm brewing.
I hear a storm a brewing.
Yeah, so with that aspect, I can understand it. Somebody going into their podcatcher once every couple of months and going, I've got too many shows. Let me get rid of the ones that haven't. It's kind of like you have an app on your phone that you haven't used in a month. What's the point of it being on there? Let's delete it.
Yep.
But I'm just one of those people that once I subscribe, I tend to stay subscribed because you just never know.
Yeah, unless I just decide that I don't like it anymore and I drop
Right.
it. Otherwise,
Right.
yeah. I mean, you can look through my list, and I'm sure I have shows on there that truly, they said so, ended 6 months, a year ago, but they're still on there. I'm like, whatever. If they ever want to jump back up on their feed and drop something, I'll catch it. And
because and I'll use Half Hour Wasted as an example once again, because when I was, my first round of podcasting, and I had my iPod and I would listen to podcasts all the time. Once I kind of stopped podcasting, it took about a year before I just kind of got out of listening to podcasts altogether. So when I started to listen to podcasts again, I was subscribing to shows that were currently putting out episodes. And a year later, I discovered that Half Hour Wasted had started putting out episodes again, but I had no idea because I wasn't on Facebook and I was no longer subscribed to them because I had a different device. And so, that's my thought is I'm just going to not unsubscribe because who knows, 2 years from now, I may look at it and go, holy crap, they just put out a new episode. But,
if you like it, you like it. So it's,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, then 2 hours, 4 episodes. We rocked it tonight.
Yep, we did.
And I like to think that the reason why we rocked it was because we had folks like Chris Parton and we had Doug joining us here live and providing us with that inspiration.
Giving us the energy. Yes.
Right. Feeding our need to be loved.
Now, I don't know what Chris and I are going to do Thursday because nobody ever listens in. Right, Doug? So, yeah.
I know. I feel really bad.
I don't know what we'll do.
I always end up having something to do on Thursdays.
Well, we're there every Thursday. I mean, as much as we can be, unless something comes up. So it's whatever. You can. If you can't, you can't. It's, And if you can't, just hop over to the Just Another Fanboy forums and drop a comment on one of the episodes.
Yeah. I got to get caught up. I'll tell you, the only downside for me working from home is I no longer have a commute and I just don't really listen to much of anything anymore because of that.
Well, see, I sit at a computer and I do computer work at work. So I can turn it on and I just let them run. And if something piques my interest or whatever, otherwise it's just background noise like other people listen to music or, whatever they do. So.
Yeah, see, I have days I can do that. And so I try to get caught up on days like that. Or if I'm in the kitchen making dinner, I'll typically try to put a podcast on. But I sure as heck don't listen to them. I don't spend as much time listening to them now as I used to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm fortunate that I have a situation where, I can use it just as background. And so I just, I crush through them. I've got 7 to 8.5 hours, 5 days a week that I can have podcasts running if I want them to. So I'm fortunate. That's,
Yeah. Chris and Doug both agree that you guys are all alone on Thursday nights.
Yep. No, nobody there.
See, I feel like what you guys are trying to say is that there was a whole bunch of people there last Thursday, and I wasn't, and you're trying to point that out.
We have our very famous Michael Myers that has started listening to us the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Geek Brunch, Michael Myers?
Yes, no, not the killer Michael Myers. Yeah,
right,
the
right.
podcaster, right?
Yeah.
Podfather Rios pops in every couple 3 weeks. The Podfather. The Podfather. He'll chime in and say something. We have some others. I believe Doug, if it's the same Doug S, is typically there.
I guess.
All right, Chris, you too, man. Ciao.
Bye, Chris. See, talking about Peter Rios popping in every once in a while to watch. I'm going to take it back to Monty Python. There was an episode of Monty Python where at one point, John Cleese breaks in as like a newsreader, and he's telling everybody that they have just been given word that at some point during the episode, the Queen may tune in. And when that happens, they all rise and continue the sketch, but they're all, they're doing it in a very proper way because, and they play like the national anthem for England in the background. It's like I picture you guys. It's like, oh, Peter Rios is listening, and so then it becomes really serious,
right? Yeah,
we've really got to start podcasting now because the Podfather's listening.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I'll try to get on Thursday. Thursdays just aren't good for me anymore. I should be sitting here editing an episode for my other podcast for Friday, and I haven't. Right. Yeah, I haven't even done that.
Well, you'll motivate to get it done, or you won't. I mean, don't sweat it either way. It is what it is, and if it's a job, then it's not going to be fun. Because you already have one of those. Well, at least one. I mean, I am, again, fortunate. I only have one, but I have one. So I don't want this to be a job. And I try not to look at it that way. I try to do what I'm supposed to do, what I need to do to be ready. But I don't force. I don't press. If I can't, I can't. If I don't want to record, then I don't. I mean, it's just that simple. If I don't want to record, then I just don't. So
I need to do like what you do, and I need to really take advantage of the days that I'm really feeling it and try to knock out 2 or 3 episodes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Get those puppies in the can. And that way it's that much pressure off of you.
Yeah. When I brought back Just Another Fanboy, I was really flying by the seat of my pants. I was really just, I didn't plan anything out. I just sat down and started talking about whatever book I may have read last night. And these days I've crippled myself with feeling like I have to really plan out the next episode, and I got to stop doing that.
No, you don't have
to. Sit down and start talking. That's what it was. That's what I think I got a lot of the listeners that are still listening today that started listening 3 years ago, that's why they were listening, because it's not, I wasn't trying to be anything more than just, I'm sitting in the front seat of my car in the parking lot.
Yes. I remember
an hour before work. And
or
I'm talking
lunch.
about,
you do it
or at lunch.
Sometimes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes
it's cold.
I just need to,
need
to get back to that mentality. And I don't know why I've gotten out of it. It's like, I've started to take myself too seriously, and I don't know why.
If you don't have to plan it, then don't. I mean, just, if the kind of show that you want to do, you don't have to plan, then don't plan anything. Just, now do plan to sit down at the mic at the same time.
Yeah.
That way it becomes that habit. But other than that, whatever, what am I going to, I don't know. I'll just, what do I have over here? The book, the Only Murders in the Building. Well, I watched that last night. Well, so.
Yeah. I'll get back into the swing of things. I've always been like this, though. I just go through periods of just not feeling motivated. And then I go through periods where I'm just creating stuff every freaking day.
Yep.
My problem is I don't save that stuff. It's like I want to get it out there as soon as it's created, and I got to stop doing that.
I know the feeling.
I got to save that.
Last November, I had this 2 or 3 week burst of just energy. So I recorded probably the first half of this year's shows that I have released, which has been 1 a week during that period in November. And since then, I've just sat down and done a couple episodes of this show or a couple episodes of that show, and I'll put them up ready to go. And I've just eased into it. I was this weekend, actually, I'm thinking, well, for my newsprint commando, I've got the rest of this year. Well, what am I going to do? What do I want to talk about at the beginning of next year? So I went through and I pulled me out a batch of books. And whenever I feel motivated again, I'll sit down and start recording for releasing those episodes in 2023, So.
Yep. It's peaks and valleys. Do what you can do and don't do what you can't do.
Hey, that's pretty good advice. I like
that wasn't deep at all, but it
was by Jack Handy.
All right, dude. I'm gonna close her down, and I have been sitting here at this because this is where I work from as well. And I think I've been sitting here since about 6 o'clock this morning.
Nice. Okay.
So I'm gonna go sit down on the couch and watch some TV or read some comics. One of the two.
Watch some TV. Take a break from comics.
Yeah. All right, dude. It was a productive night. Very happy.
Yes, sir.
Maybe should we plan on 2 weeks?
Well, we can if you want to. I mean, yeah, that works for me.
Like the 29th. Let's just go ahead and plan on that. I don't think I have anything going on.
Okay, hang on. Let me think a minute. You're welcome, Doug. You have a good night too, man. The 29th sounds okay.
Okay, cool. Let's plan on that.
All righty, sir.
All right. Thanks, Ed. Talk to you later.
Yes, sir.